Hey guys, so today I'm going to try to do something a little bit different that I haven't done before. Normally, when I make these videos, they're animated and they're done to try to help explain a specific concept or something that might be a little bit more challenging to understand, but I think may be easier to learn if you have a visual aid and it's focused just on one item. What I'm going to do is I got the October 2021 FYLSE crimes essay, and I'm going to attempt to issue spot and outline it in 5 minutes. So I don't know if I can do it or not because I'm going to be explaining things as I go, so you know what my mindset is. So it'll probably be more than 5, but if I keep it under 10, that'd be great, because if I do that, then that leaves me 50 minutes to do my writing, which is more than ample. So before I get started, I put up here on the screen a few things I'm going to be looking for. I need to make sure with every crime, there's 3 things that I need to have. I need to have the actus reus, which is the volitional act. And you have the mens rea, there has to be a guilty mind, the wrongful intent, and it has to happen at the same time. You need those 3 things all together, all at the same time to prove your charge. Otherwise, 2 of the 3 don't work, 1 of the 3 certainly don't work. So you need all 3 at the same time for it to work. So what I'm going to be looking for when I go through, I'm going to be looking for actions. So those will tell me when things can happen, whether they're physically going to do something. So those will lead to volitional acts. I'm going to look for adjectives and adverbs. Those are descriptors, and they're going to help me understand or to frame the actions and maybe offer insight to the intent of the defendant. And then I'm also going to look for elements. Sometimes they will just hand you elements right from a crime that you can pick out, and you can, when you see that one element, you can actually start picking out other things to start filling in the blanks of that crime to hit, to get your rule statement all made out. All right, so I try to set my screen something like the screens are when we do online testing. I don't know if this is still the same or exactly right, but I'm going to have the hypo in the middle. I'll have my notepad on the right and the clock in the bottom right. All right, so the goal is 5 minutes. If it's not 5 minutes, be nice, and at least I'm trying. Okay, so let's flip this over. Here's our question 1. Here's a hypo. I'm going to click start, and then we'll go. All right, so this one. So what crimes may Dave reasonably be charged? Discuss. All right, so clearly this is a racehorse, because when they give you an open-ended question like that, they want you to throw everything you know at this. So let's jump in and see where we get. And I'm going to highlight as we go so I know what words we're using. All right, so here's Dave. He's our defendant. Dave suggested to Fred. Okay, so right off the bat, they hand you, there's a solicitation. So up here I'm going to write solicitation. Solicitation, somebody's asking, urging someone else to do something. That they rob a bank. Oh, okay, well, so they're going to rob, so there's a robbery. So we're going to put that in there. Now, all these things may not show up, but if you take down notes, you can always go back there later and you can delete them or not do anything. But I like to write things down so I have more stuff that I can fill in. Because sometimes they'll give you, if there's 6 elements, they may only give you 4. If there's 5 elements, they give you 3. And they're not enough to create the crime, but they're going to want you to talk on it. So I'm going to make sure I make every note I can to try to pick out what I can. And then to rob a bank. All right, so a bank is a structure. So a structure, to me, that's going to speak to, he's like a burglary or arson, because it's not going to be common law, but under modern law, it's any structure. So just kind of keep that in mind. So rob a bank. So the bank will be, might come up later. Fred, oh, okay, so Fred agreed. So, well, there you go, that was easy. That he would go along with Dave when he tries to rob the bank. All right, so right off the bat, we've got a conspiracy to rob the bank. And then with solicitation and conspiracy, don't forget, you also set the merger. So we put the merger in there. Like, when I'm thinking inchoate crimes right now, that's popping in my head, but later on, I might totally space on merger. So I'm writing it down now so I don't forget. Unbeknownst to Dave, so unbeknownst. All right, so he didn't know, what did he know? He didn't know that Fred did not actually want to rob the bank. All right, so unbeknownst, that's going to speak to intent and possibly also to his withdrawal from the conspiracy. In common law, the rule is two more people agree to unlawful act to do an unlawful act by, or do a lawful act by unlawful means. But under modern law, both people, if they're not agreeing to something, to the same thing, there's no intent there. So under modern law, they have a feigning agreement. So if you have two people together and one's actually feigning or pretending to agree, you can have that one person who is not feigning still be held for the conspiracy, but only if the other person who's feigning is a policeman. I think I described that poorly, but I think it's what they want you to go with here, because unbeknownst today, Fred did not actually want to rob the bank. I mean, they're kind of saying right there. So Dave, he's gonna have a withdrawal from the conspiracy because Fred and the feigning agreement. Although, remember, so this is one that even though you can't, there's no policeman in there, and so it won't work, you still want to bring it up because you want to show that you spot that issue and then you can speak to it. All right, let's see. Rather, he was a member of a terrorist group who wanted to explode a hand grenade in a public place as an act of terror. All right, so exploding a hand grenade in a public place, that's malicious. Malicious mischief. Mischief. Before E, except after. Okay, malicious mischief. And then hand grenade could also be a deadly weapon. So if you're writing in a murder, if we get down to there's a murder, a deadly weapon can be used for great bodily harm, or if there's no malice, you can always use a deadly weapon doctrine as to fill in for the malice. See, when Dave asked to participate in the robbery, that was part of the conspiracy. We covered. Fred sought opportunity to fulfill his goal by having Dave along as an unwitting armed backup. So again, that's all to the conspiracy. Now, if there wasn't an agreement, remember that's when you can use accomplice and accomplice liability to do the same thing. So your co-conspirators are still carrying that same responsibility for each other. The next day, okay. Oh, the next day. So the next day is not nighttime. So nighttime is burglary thing. So okay, so a day. So I might burglar up here. Burglary, because there's a day, there's a structure, the bank's a structure. Anytime of day, they're going to go there to commit a felony. So there you go. So there's burglary. Dave and Fred approached the bank carrying handguns. All right, so approach the bank. So that could be an overt act that you might need for conspiracy, or it might be a substantial step if you want to bring up an attempt. We don't know if they're going to go how far they're with the robbery, so I forgot that earlier, so I'm going to put down here substantial step for an attempt. Carrying handguns. Oh, with handguns. Handguns are also deadly weapons. That. See, Fred also had a hand grenade in his jacket pocket that Dave did not know about. So Dave didn't know about that. So again, there's more defensive stuff for Dave not knowing things that you can use for his intent or his withdrawal to get out of the conspiracy. Just as they walked in the bank's front door with their guns drawn. All right, so if you're walking in some place with your guns drawn, you want to scare people, you want to make them feel threatened. So that's going to be an assault. Just as they walked in the bank, to Dave's astonishment. So again, Dave did not know. He was not aware. He is going to withdraw from that conspiracy. Fred removed the grenade from his pocket, pulled the pin, and threw the grenade into the bank. So that's all the actus reus of that whole bank being blown up with the malicious mischief. The explosion damaged the bank. Okay, well, right there, that's statutory arson. Arson, statutory. Because under statutory modern law arson, you can replace the charring of the fibers with damage from an explosion. And because the bank is a structure, they give you the two elements right there. They just change the wording. So you just have to know your arson and spot that and pick it out. You got statutory arson. Nobody got hurt. That's good. Bank guard Gus. Uh-oh. Another person saw Dave and Fred running away with their guns drawn. All right, so they're trying to say that it's still within the res gestae. It's still in the middle of the crime of the perpetration, so it's not afterwards. Running away, shot his gun at Fred and killing him. Uh-oh. So of course there's our murder, because there is always a murder. I haven't seen a crime essay in years without a murder on it. All right, so it's in the middle of a felony. So they're going to want you to put out a felony murder rule out there. And then also because we've got the hand grenade, or not the hand grenade, but the gun that that could be a deadly weapon because it was used as a deadly weapon. So if you don't find malice, because it may not be malice for this guard shooting at them. So if you don't find malice, you use a deadly weapon. So I guess you go off maybe involuntary manslaughter, but you know, if it's foreseeable, I guess it would be foreseeable. So you could also talk about involuntary manslaughter. Voluntary but again, it depends how fast you write, how quickly you can get this all out. And then because it's a cop do the shooting who killed it, under modern law, we have the red line rule. The red line rule states that the co-conspirators not be held guilty if the murder was done by the victim or policeman. So red line rule. So that can all be part of your argument. So there you have it. So it took me 9 minutes. I used most of it. My highlighting wasn't very good. At least you guys can get the idea. You go through, that's a pretty good outline. That will cover probably 5-6 pages if I write it out well. Might have to move a few things around, bring down the deadly weapon, use that for my murder, because there's a couple of different deadly weapons. The burglary, the overt act, and then of course the murder is always the big discussion. That's what you get all your points at. So I hope that this helped somebody at all. It's kind of fun to do to test yourself. But if you practice like this, after all, you notice that almost everything relates back to something else. They're going to try to hand you the answers, but they're going to be hidden. So you need to go through, figure out what they're trying to say, what they're trying to hide from you, and dig it out. It's like a game. So anyway, so it took us just under 10 minutes. So I'll stop that. So anyways, I hope this helps with your studying. If you have questions, leave them in the comments, and good luck.